All right, well, I think we're live here on Facebook. So folks, we are gathered here tonight. You've got myself and Mikhail here at Fortune Lake. We will introduce ourselves here in a bit. We've also got Paul Oman, who is joining us from his home studio, I believe. So we're gonna give just a few minutes for folks to gather in this Facebook Live space. We're really excited about this opportunity that we're going to share with you tonight. And we're going to invite you through this time to have a Q&A with Paul, our artist. So as you are gathering and getting your devices queued up, I invite you to think about what you might want to ask of this artist as he's with us here tonight. We are also interested to know where you are joining us from. So if you are tuning in live, we would ask you to share, say hello to the rest of the Fortune Lake family who's out there. And if you're willing to, in the comments, share where you're tuning in from, that would be really fun for us all to see. So most of you know me. My name is Amanda Reisner. I am the camp director here at Fortune Lake Lutheran Camp. It is an honor and a privilege to serve in this way. And if you know me at all, you know that I also appreciate art in a lot of forms. So you can see here in my office, I've got children's art up along the wall there. I've got some fiber art lower on the wall. And I also have Paul's print behind me, which is the reason that we are here tonight. I would also like you to meet Mikhail. Mikhail, will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, of course. My name is Mikhail Moran. I've been coming here for quite a few years working on staff, and this is my first year interning as the year-round intern stuff. So moved in not too long ago, still kind of getting my feet wet, and I'm just really excited to be here with Paul and Amanda to just talk about these amazing prints.
Awesome. And our guest of the night, our guest of honor, is Paul Oman. Paul has a ministry called Drawn to the Word, and Paul has been a guest on site here at Fortune Lake. He's also been, I believe, all over the world sharing his ministry. So we're going to learn a little bit about that tonight. But Paul, would you just start us off with an introduction, please?
Yes, thank you, Amanda. I am just thrilled to be here tonight and to be able to partner with Fortune Lake. And I serve or have served as an ELCA pastor. I served a congregation for 8 years in northern Wisconsin. And prior to that, I was a science teacher in the Twin Cities in Minnesota. But as I went to college, my path, I was going to be a veterinarian of all things. But that kind of took a turn as I was a counselor at a Bible camp for several summers and working with kids and really enjoyed that. So I got my degree in science secondary education instead of veterinary medicine. But I always had thought about seminary and finally went to seminary and then served as a parish pastor. But way back as a little child, I always liked to draw and paint, and I've continued that over the years, taking lessons and some classes in high school and college and just studying on my own a lot. And I've incorporated that into my teaching and my ministry and have been able to share that with camps as well. So that's just a little bit about me. And I'm coming to you from my studio, like Amanda said, near Amory, Wisconsin. Our address is Deer Park, tiny little town. And my wife and our children, we all live here. And it's a thrill to be here.
Great. Paul, just so we're going to do some questions just off the bat here, can you tell us how you got into the ministry?
With my artistic ministry in particular?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting, I never imagined that I'd be doing what I'm doing. As far as going into the ministry, perhaps that was a thought I'd had for years, and that finally came to become a reality. But as far as doing an artistic ministry, I had this idea of incorporating art into the worship services. And the more I painted, the faster I was able to paint. And I thought, what if I could use a huge canvas and paint the Bible story in front of my congregation instead of preaching the sermon, and then incorporate other people into the worship who are reading scripture and performing music. And so the word of proclamation is still there along with the visual image that I was painting. So we tried it on Good Friday in 2006 for the first time. It was my third year as a parish pastor. And there were just a few people there, as I expected, but it was the trial run for all of this. And I didn't know if it would work or if the people would appreciate it. But from that day on, that really opened the doors to this artistic ministry. And so every Good Friday, I would paint the story. I would paint a different aspect of that crucifixion scene. And then other churches started finding out about this. And I was invited to come and paint in different places, eventually around the country, and then in Africa and in China and in schools and prisons. And it's just been an amazing and exciting journey that I could have never planned on my own, which makes it even more exciting. So that's in a nutshell how this ministry has come about.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
So like, I think you touched on it vaguely, but you kind of got into performance arts around the time like you started conjoining pastor and your love of art together. Did it take like a lot of training, or did you say you had like a naturally just skilled hand for drawing already and then you just built upon that craft, or was it something was a desire you wanted to do, so you picked up painting?
Yeah, great question. It was really a culmination of my teaching experience and my study of art. Since I was 10 years old, I started taking painting lessons. And watercolor painting is my primary medium, but I paint in acrylic and oil. The big canvases I do for large audiences, that's done with acrylics on canvas. And then my understanding of liturgy and worship and just combining all of these things together, the art and the worship and the music, and knowing what the world is like as a pastor from that side of it has allowed me to work with pastors of all denominations to try and incorporate the art in a way that fits into their own tradition, and to bring the Bible story alive in that way. And some of it, of course, is just trial and error. You just have to test it out, and you discover what works and what doesn't work so well, and you go with that. So that's really how it's all come together.
That's awesome, Paul. Thank you for sharing. We're here because we all love Fortune Lake, and we all love outdoor ministry and how we've experienced God through this place of grace. So I'm curious if you would share with us, what is your connection to Fortune Lake?
Well, it was 5 years ago, this past summer, that I was invited to Fortune Lake to be the teacher for the adults during the morning sessions during a family camp week. And that was an absolutely wonderful experience. One of my passions besides art is teaching. In the ministry it was, and it continues to be. So if I have an opportunity where I can teach theology and the Bible story and incorporate the arts with that, which is what I did at Fortune Lake that week, I take advantage of those opportunities, and I feel that's a calling that I have to share that. So for that week, we had lots of fun relationships that were developed with people from the whole Fortune Lake Camp network. And it was very exciting, not to mention the setting at Fortune Lake, how peaceful and beautiful that is. It was really a personal retreat for me as well to be there.
Yeah, so Paul, we're here tonight to showcase your new painting that you've done at Fortune Lake. Can you tell us about this project, like where the idea came from and where it all started to the final thing we see and how it got to fruition?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was there 5 years ago, I had painted a scene of the beach, standing by the cross on the other side of this cross here, looking, which would be out from the painting toward the beach. And Amanda had contacted me recently about that print, and we were just talking about how things are going with camp these days with the pandemic and things like that. And it's the 90th anniversary of Fortune Lake. So we talked about, well, maybe we should do another perspective with the cross looking the other direction. And so this is how the idea was born. And I just played around with some of the ideas that we could work with. And Amanda had sent me some photos that had been taken of various perspectives of the camp. So I took a couple of those photos and merged the ideas together of the chapel and the dining hall. And there was some deer in one of the photos. And so I thought it would be kind of interesting to cast the shadow of the cross on the ground as well. And so as we stand under the shadow of the cross, something like that. I mean, there are so many different allusions that come with like images of deer out of the scripture, even passages that will bring up ideas of that and the beauty of God's creation that Fortune Lake has. So we put it in a fall setting, as the other print is a summer scene. And I painted this up and shared it with Amanda, and she gave it the okay and said, let's move ahead with it. So that's really how the idea came about.
So I'm going to give a quick shout out. I think Lance Crevier is on the live stream with us tonight. I see he's tuning in from Marquette. And Lance was our previous camp intern, and he took the photos that inspired your painting. So that's pretty cool. Good to see you joining us, Lance. If you are just tuning in, we'd love it if you would share, who you are and where you're watching from. We've got some people even from as far as Illinois, so that's pretty cool. So there are a number of ways, if people are interested in purchasing this print, that they could go about that. And Mikhail, would you share with us those ways that people could get their hands on one?
Yeah, there are a couple ways. One of the ways is that either way, you should go to fortunelake.org, and then there's a link that'll bring you directly to Paul's site where you can order it there, just online. And then there's the other way, I think it's also on fortunelake.org, is we have a sheet that you can print and fill out and mail. And that's just like a regular, just regular computer paper sheet, and you can just mail that. Yeah, let's show you in a second. Yep, so you're going to see it right there. It's pretty well advertised on the website right now, but you can purchase them directly from Paul by completing the form and mailing it. Yeah, and then it shows you where to mail it, and then you click on the link, and then you could just order it online right there when you click that link. So those are the two ways you can get them currently. Yep, so and that's the thing you print out. Yeah.
And can I make a comment on this?
Mm-hmm.
So if you looking at the order form here, you see that we have the size of the different prints. So 7.5 by 10 inches, 12 by 16, 15 by 20, or 18 by 24. And the number of prints that'll be made in each of those. In the small, there'll be 60 prints. The 12 by 16, there'll be 40, 30 of them in 15 by 20, and only 10 18 by 24. And when these are sold out, that is all. That is the complete edition, the limited edition. And the prices are listed right below there: $89, $129, $179, and $229. And 25% of your purchase will go to Fortune Lake.
So we have advertised ahead of this live stream tonight that if folks want to get in on this opportunity early on, that there's an incentive. Mikhail, would you be willing to show us what people could win? And here's how you can be entered into winning this basket. If you're interested in ordering a print, and do so within the next 48 hours, so before 7 p.m. on Thursday evening, you'll be entered into a drawing. In order for that to be information to get in our hands in time for the drawing, you would need to order directly from Paul's website. The mail won't move fast enough to make that happen. But for those who do that, Mikhail, they'll be entered into a drawing. Can you show them what they'd win?
Yeah, of course. So if you order one in the next 48 hours, you'll be entered in a drawing for the fortunately to the Canteen package. Now, this is a basket. There's a couple things in here. Woo. A basket valued at at $60 and includes a 90th anniversary T-shirt of your size, of your choosing. We also have a Fortune Lake Lutheran Camp sticker, little decal there. An insulated water bottle. These are really nice. I really like these. A bandana, which is just a little bandana, a little mask up, you know what I'm saying? Bandana, baseball cap, classic Fortune Lake Lutheran Camp baseball cap, and then you get a little moose, and then we have 2 bracelets as well. So this is about a $60 value just in this basket. And so you have until 8 p.m. Central Time Thursday, November 12th, to order your Paul Oman print to be entered into the drawing, and it has to be done online through clicking on the link and going to Paul's website. The winner will be announced live on Facebook Friday morning. So good luck to anyone who gets it. Hope we have a lot of interest in them.
All right. So we asked at the beginning of the stream if anybody had questions to put them in the comments on Facebook. I would welcome you to continue to do that if things have popped up as we've been going along. But Paul, there's a great question. There's another artist who tuned in tonight by the name of Paige, and she is asking, what is your painting comfort zone? So she listed 3 different modes of painting, 2 that I know, acrylic and oil, and 1 that I am not even going to try to pronounce. It's Gouache. So yes, I will allow you to answer that.
So what was the question? What is my favorite painting mode?
Yeah, what's your painting comfort zone? What's your preferred?
Oh, my preferred is watercolor by far. And I do a whole variety of watercolor paintings. I paint everything from landscapes. That's really where it all started in watercolor painting. I used to do more wildlife art. I don't do that so much anymore. I'm really kind of impressionistic, realistic, but impressionistic in order to get the realistic feel. But I'll paint city scenes. Wherever I travel, I love to paint. I'll paint portraits, of course, the biblical story. But for me, watercolor has a transparency and a speed to it that you simply see it in values, and you generally paint from light to dark in order to complete the painting, the process. And so when I teach watercolor, I try and simplify it for people and say there are 3 basic values, light, middle, and dark, that you need to look for in any particular scene or reference photo. And if you can roughly get those contrasts, light, middle, and dark, in the right places, it will create very quickly a 3-dimensional image that opens up on this flat surface that you're painting on. But the same, many of these same principles transfer to drawing and oil and acrylic painting. Acrylic would be next in line for me, and then oil would be third. Although I love painting all of them, so they each have their own pros and cons to them. But gouache, I don't use gouache very much. Gouache is like an opaque watercolor. So, but once in a while, I will use white gouache in particular to do some highlights. Like if I've lost some highlights, if I've been painting really fast and I covered over some of the white paper in watercolor and I need to bring some back. So I don't think I have any gouache on here. I guess there's just a little bit right here. So I just touched a little white gouache on the upper edge of the chapel right here to bring this highlight, this rim lighting from the sunlight back where it wasn't as strong as I wanted it to be. So that's one way I use that, but great question.
Good. And we have another question from Corey. He's wondering how, we see a comment yet from Paige here. Back to you. I was thinking Impressionism, she says. Can't believe the brushstrokes you achieve with watercolor. And you can tell she knows what she's talking about.
Absolutely. Definitely an artist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
So thanks for that, Paige. And I see a question here from Corey. He's wondering, how long does it take to make a painting like that?
Well, watercolor has to go pretty quickly or you lose that real dynamic sense that watercolor provides. So actually to create the original, it takes me longer to design it and figure out the composition and where I'm going to place things than it does usually to paint the actual painting. So this painting itself, it took me a couple of hours to complete once I started actually painting it. But took me, several hours before that, before I figured out exactly where I wanted things placed. I really wanted the cross dominant here. So that's, front and center, and the message of the cross is right there and everything else. So I got my large shape, my medium shape would be the chapel, and the smaller shape would be the dining hall back here. And then all the rest of this supports these shapes is kind of how I see it from a design standpoint.
Well, the rest of the questions that I see in our comments are all people back and forth wondering what sizes they should order or request on their Christmas list. So that's a good thing.
Well, I guess you'll just have to look at that order form and the sizes and measure your wall space. So these are giclée prints, and what that is, it's a fine art printing process with archival inks that are light fast, so they should not fade. And I print them on a slightly textured archival museum quality paper, which is acid free. So that should not yellow over time. It's guaranteed to not yellow for at least 100 years. So you should be good there. And so, but what that means is you'll need to put a mat around it and glass and a frame. So if you measure your wall space and you decide you want, let's say, the 15 by 20 inch size, that is the actual size of the image. So if you have, let's say, a 2.5 inch mat on each side of that, you're going to want to add 5 inches in each dimension to get your glass size anyway. And your frame would add another inch or two onto that, depending how thick you want the frame. So just keep all of those things in mind. And if you have any questions on any of that, you are welcome to email me. It's on the form, or give me a call. And I'd be happy to answer that or try and explain it to you. So I hope that answers any questions about that.
Yeah, that's really helpful, actually. I'm glad that you brought that up. That can help people make their decisions. We did have somebody earlier in the day ask if they couldn't make it tonight, how could they learn about this opportunity? Please know that we will keep this live stream. This live stream will end, but we will keep the video up on our Facebook page. So anybody can watch it at any time. We will also keep that link active on our website. And so although the opportunity to get in on the drawing for the Canteen basket will end Thursday, we intend to keep this opportunity up on our website until hopefully those prints sell out. So we're excited to kick it off tonight and know that we did this intentionally because it is fall. And because we know people are thinking about Christmas. So we are so glad that you all joined us tonight. And we are so thankful that we got to spend some time with Paul. We had a couple of people commenting, Paul, they've seen your work in other places in the past. And they just commented how much they've appreciated your work and your ministry over the years. And I can say, having been a participant before I was the camp director, I was a family camper at that particular week-long family camp that you facilitated, and it was so meaningful. And there are 2 paintings that moved with us from our previous home to this home, and they have help us to choose the color scheme and the furniture and everything that is in our living room. So that is how much we value your work. And so we know that this print means a lot to us here at Fortune Lake and to this place of grace and the people whose lives have been touched by God through this ministry. So we thank you so much for all of the ways that you share the gospel of Jesus Christ through your work. And we hope that we can continue to partner with you into the future. And we would love to have you back as a guest when it is a good time for us to again gather in person.
I would love to come back. And thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Mikhail. It's a real joy to partner with you again.
All right, well, we are signing off from our live broadcast here tonight. But again, as you have questions or want to know more, you can always reach out to Paul or us here at camp, and we'll be happy to walk you through the process. Grace and peace to you all, friends.